Hello, welcome to this Bible for Life ministry. I'm Nick Crawley, and this is a short video introducing the prophetic book of Daniel. Daniel is the fourth of the major prophets in the Old Testament, and in many ways is very unique. The book of Daniel is only 12 chapters long, which is a good deal shorter than the other three. Daniel's own story is actually very similar to that of Ezekiel. He was a young man of noble birth in the Jewish society in Jerusalem, and early in his life he suffered the invasion and the capture of Jerusalem by the Babylonian forces. He was then taken to Babylon, many hundreds of miles away, and because he showed unusual promise and gifting, he was then trained as trained for leadership in the governance of the Babylonian Empire. And the book of Daniel tells a number of stories of what happened to him as an administrator over something like 6 decades. It's an unusual book, but the key to understanding this book is to understand the structure. Now this is very often the case with biblical documents. If you understand the structure, you can understand and see very clearly why the document was written and what the document is getting at. And this is very clear, because in the book of Daniel there is what's called a chiastic structure. And once you see it, you can see that it's extremely clear. In chapters 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6 and 7, there is, as it were, there's a pattern of construction. The first, in chapter 2, there's a story of a dream in which there are 4 empires. In the following chapter, chapter 3, there is a test concerning idolatry, and in the following chapter there is an emperor who is tested, and in this case is humbled. In the next chapter there's an emperor who is not humbled, and in the following chapter, chapter 6, there is another test. This is Daniel in the lion's den, again about idolatry, that's the underlying issue. And then in chapter 7 there is a final dream, so about 4 kingdoms. So it goes dream, test, emperor humbled, emperor not humbled, test, dream, da 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 da. And once you see that, you can see what's going on. Now the point of the arrowhead, as it were, the key verses in that are about the Most High rules over the affairs, the kingdoms of man, and he gives them to whoever he wishes and wills. And that really is the answer to the whole question which underlies the book. Why did God allow Jerusalem to be overthrown by the Babylonians? But the key thing, the message is on the outside. It's the dreams in chapters 2 and chapter 7, and the whole thing it gives the same message. It's about there are going to be 4 empires are going to come and go, and then God will bring in his kingdom, and will bring it in through the agency of the Son of Man. Now let me read these key verses, which in many ways are the most important in the book. It's Daniel chapter 7 and verse 13 and 14. And there before me was one like a son of man, coming in the clouds of heaven, and he approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence, and he was given authority, glory, sovereign power, and all peoples, nations, and men of every language worshipped him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. Now when Jesus began his ministry, he took these ideas and he described himself as the Son of Man, and he talked about that he was bringing in the kingdom of heaven. So you can see the importance of the prophecies of Daniel, which are specifically fulfilled in Jesus' ministry. There's one more thing, or area, which Daniel describes, and that is that the book has a great deal to say about intercession, particularly chapter 9, and also about the practices, the lifestyle of holy habits. of spiritual disciplines. This is an example of here's a lot of teaching about how to live and approach God and to engage with God. There's teaching about fasting, there's teaching about intercession, there's teaching about a lifestyle that engages you with God. So here we have with Daniel a very different sort of book, a book which is telling this amazing prophetic insight into what is going to happen in the future and how God's people can engage with God.